US-Iran hold crucial nuclear talks amid military buildup. Cuba says it shot dead 4 people on US-registered speedboats. Russia launches overnight missile and drone strikes across Ukraine. DR Congo forces strike Rwanda-backed M23 rebels near strategic Rubaya Coltan mine. Good afternoon and welcome to The World in 30 Minutes on Politics and Business Television. I am Omike Joseph Matthew. Many thanks for joining us. Details of these stories and more will come your way right after this short break. Let's begin the broadcast with the news that former U.S. Secretary of State and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton is set to appear before a House Oversight Committee on Thursday as part of its investigation into the crimes of the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. Hillary and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, recently agreed to testify after previously resisting summons which they had described as politically motivated. Their decision came as the committee weighed potential contempt of Congress proceedings against them. Hillary Clinton has maintained that she does not recall meeting or speaking with Epstein, while Bill Clinton, who did know Epstein, has denied any wrongdoing or knowledge of the financier's criminal activities. Bill Clinton also stated that he severed ties with Epstein 2 decades ago and expressed regrets for ever being associated with him. He's expected to provide his own testimony on Friday. The couple's agreement to testify represents a reversal of their earlier stance and comes amid criticism of their partner's Republican leader, James Comer. The Clintons have called the investigation a partisan effort intended to embarrass political rivals, noting that they had already submitted sworn statements covering the limited information they have about Epstein. A spokesman for Bill Clinton said the couple would appear before the committee and hoped their testimony will help establish a precedent applicable to all. US and Iran officials are holding a third round of indirect talks in Geneva in what is widely seen as a critical effort to prevent a fresh conflict. The discussions come as President Donald Trump warns that he could order strike on Iran if a new nuclear agreement is not reached. The negotiations are being mediated by Oman's Foreign Minister, Badr Abdulzadi, who said both sides have shown unprecedented openness to creative solutions, although the prospect for a breakthrough remain uncertain. The talks are taking place against the backdrop of the largest U.S. military buildup in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. In recent weeks, Washington has deployed thousands of troops, 2 aircraft carriers, additional warship, fighter jets, and refueling aircraft to the region. While Trump says he prefers diplomacy, he has also indicated he is considering limited military action to pressure Tehran, though he has not clearly outlined the specific demands behind the renewed push for a deal. Iran has rejected U.S. calls to halt uranium enrichment on its soil, but has hinted it may be willing to reconsider certain concessions regarding its nuclear program. Tehran has also warned that any attack would be met with force, including strikes on American military assets in the Middle East and Israel. The high-stakes diplomacy now unfolding in Geneva is seen as vital in determining whether tensions ease or escalate further. And still on President Trump, President Donald Trump has said U.S. Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib should be sent back from where they came from after the 2 Democrat lawmakers shouted in protest during his State of the Union address. During Tuesday's nearly 2-hour speech, Tlaib, a Palestinian American, and Omar, a Somali American, interrupted the president as he praised his administration's immigration crackdown and enforcement measures. In a post on his Truth Social platform late Wednesday, Trump described the two Muslim lawmakers as crooked and corrupt politicians and suggested they should be removed from the United States. Umar and Tlaib were among a small group of Democrats who protested during the address. At one point, as Trump called for an open to so-called sanctuary cities, the pair shouted, "You have killed Americans," a reference to recent immigration enforcement actions. Umar, who represents Minnesota's 5th congressional district, has been a vocal critic of the administration's immigration policies, particularly following deadly confrontations linked to federal raids in our state. Trump's remarks did not mention other Democratic lawmakers who also protested during the speech, including Representative Sarah McBride or Representative Al Green, who was escorted out of the House chamber after displaying a sign referencing a racist video involving former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama that has circulated on social media. Cuban authorities say 4 people were shot dead by border guards after a U.S.-registered speedboat entered Cuba territorial waters and engaged in a deadly confrontation, the government announced on Wednesday. Now, according to Cuban Interior Ministry, the vessel registered in Florida was approaching near. The ministry said the passengers opened fire on a Cuban patrol boat, injuring its commander, and that Cuban forces returned fire, killing 4 and wounding 6 others, all of whom have since been detained. In a statement, the Interior Ministry identified the 10 people aboard the speedboat as Cuban nationals living in the United States and alleged that they were armed with assault rifles, handguns, Molotov cocktails, and other tactical gear and intended to carry out an infiltration for terrorist purposes. Most, the statement said, had prior records involving criminal and violent activities. U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, described the incident as highly unusual and said Washington is conducting its own investigation, stressing that no U.S. government personnel were involved and that it will seek to independently verify the circumstances. The confrontation comes amid broader tensions between the United States and Cuba, particularly over economic sanctions and maritime security issues in the region. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary and past Harvard President Larry Summer is stepping down from his role at Harvard University following an internal review of documents related to his ties with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Harvard announced that Summers will resign as co-director of the Masava Ramani Center for Business and Government and retire from his other academic and faculty post, describing the move as connected to the university's ongoing review. Summers called the decision difficult and had previously taken leave while the investigation was underway. The development comes a day after Nobel Prize-winning neuroscientist Richard Epstein stepped down from his leadership role at Columbia University's Zuckerman Mind-Brain Behavior Institute over his own past association with Epstein. Epstein said his relationship with Epstein was a serious error in judgment, though the university confirmed he would retain his professorship and continue research duties. Neither Summers nor Excel has been accused of any Epstein survival of misconduct, and there is no public evidence linking them to Epstein's crime. Recently released Justice Department files show Summers corresponded with Epstein until shortly before Epstein's 2019 arrest and sex trafficking charges, and that the two met on multiple occasions. Emails also indicate Excel had been invited to Epstein's private island and had communicated with him about university-related matters. Epstein, who previously pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution from minors, died in a New York jail in 2019 while awaiting trial and renowned scrutiny over his network of high-profile associates continues to reverberate across academic and political institutions. Kwang Yin-sung, father of pro-democracy activist Anna Kwang, has been sentenced to 8 months in prison by a Hong Kong court for violating national security laws, marking the first case involving a family member of a wanted activist living abroad. The 69-year-old was convicted under Article 23, a locally enacted law that expands on the Beijing-imposed national security framework. Authorities accuse him of attempting to handle the financial assets of his daughter, who left Hong Kong in 2020 and is now based in the United States. Prosecutors said Kwang Yin-sung tried to withdraw about $11,000 from an insurance policy he had purchased for his daughter when she was a child, arguing that prosecutors said Kwang Yin-sung tried to withdraw about $11,000 from an insurance policy he had purchased for his daughter when she was a child, arguing that she became the policy holder upon reaching adulthood. The defense maintained that the policy remained under his name and belonged to him. He pleaded not guilty but was found guilty by the West Kowloon Long Magistrates Court on 11 February. Anna Kwang, who is among 34 overseas activists wanted by Hong Kong's National Security Police and faces allegations of colluding with foreign forces, has a $1 million Hong Kong dollars bounty placed on her. Ahead of the sentencing, Anna Kwang said she believed her father's prosecution was intended to silence her advocacy work abroad. Hong Kong authorities, however, said enforcement actions are carried out strictly in accordance with the law and are unrelated to political stance or background. The government reiterated that it has a responsibility to pursue individuals suspected of endangering national security, even if they have left the territory. You're still watching The World in 30 Minutes live on Politics and Business Television. Now, still to come, Kenya police arrest suspected trafficker accused of sending victims to fight in Ukraine war. Please do stay tuned. You're welcome back. Now, Russia pounded Ukraine with a barrage of missile and drone attacks across the country overnight, wounding at least 25 people in advance of the latest high-level meeting between Kyiv and Washington at ending the war now in its 50th year. At least 16 people were injured in attacks in the early hours of Thursday in the northeastern city of Kharkiv and the surrounding region. Emergency services said, while in southeastern Zaporizhia, at least 7 people were injured in attacks that damaged 19 apartment buildings, 4 homes, and several other buildings. 2 people were also injured in the central city of Kyiv, officials said. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said the latest attacks on the capital in the early hours of Thursday caused damage to a 9-story residential building in the Donetsky district and fires in a home and garage elsewhere in the city. The strike on the capital prompted the activation of air defense system to counter the attack. Timur Karchenko, head of the city's military administration, said, advising residents to remain in shelters until the assault was over. No casualties were reported in the capital. Ukraine has faced regular overnight barrages as Russia targets cities with missiles and drones in harsh winter conditions in recent months, also targeting civilian energy infrastructure, even amid an ongoing push by Washington to try to negotiate an end to Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II. And to the continent of Africa, police in Kenya have arrested a man accused of being part of a human trafficking network that allegedly lured Kenyans to Russia with promises of employment, only for them to be deployed to fight on the front lines of the Ukraine war. In a statement released Wednesday night, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation said 33-year-old Festus Arasa Wamba was detained in Moyale, near the Ethiopian border, and is believed to be a key figure in a wider syndicate exploiting vulnerable job seekers with false offers of work in Europe. Authorities say victims often find themselves trapped in dangerous and illegal activities upon arrival. According to police spokesperson Michael Muchiri, Wamba was arrested after returning from Russia and is accused of recruiting Kenyans into the Russian military. He remains in custody and has been prepared for court. His arrest follows a recent report by Kenya's National Intelligence Service indicating that more than 1,000 Kenyans have been recruited to fight in the Russian-Ukraine conflict, with dozens reportedly on the front lines, hospitalized or missing. The revelations have sparked protests in Nairobi, where families are demanding government action and seeking information about their loved ones. While some families continue to wait anxiously for updates, others are mourning relatives believed to have died in the conflict. The Russian embassy in Nairobi has denied the allegations, describing them as misleading propaganda, stating that it does not issue visas to Kenyans intending to fight in Ukraine, though it noted that foreign nationals may voluntarily enlist in Russia's armed forces. Kenya's Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi has said he plans to travel to Russia in March to engage authorities and seek the safe return of affected citizens. Government forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo have launched fresh attacks against the Rwanda-backed M23 rebel group in the country's mineral-rich east, security sources said on Wednesday. Congolese forces used drones to strike positions near the strategic mining town of Rubaya, targeting M23 fighters who were reportedly hit in earlier bombardments. Rubaya mine, located in North Kivu province, is a critical global source of coltan, a mineral essential for manufacturing electronics such as mobile phones and laptops. The M23, which resurfaced in 2021, has seized vast territory across eastern DR Congo and captured the Rubaya mine in April 2024, allegedly with support from Rwanda. Its continued advance has intensified in decades-long conflicts in a region where armed groups and foreign interests compete for control of valuable mineral resources. In December, the rebels expanded operations towards the strategic city of Uvira in South Kivu, drawing condemnation from the United States, which has been mediating a fragile peace process between Kinshasa and Kigali. Despite ceasefire proposals led by Angola earlier this year, fighting has persisted. On Wednesday, local militias allied with Congolese forces launched coordinated attacks across several frontline positions in North Kivu, particularly across